It's Chris and Brian here from Resolve Technology. And today we are going to talk about something in the news that's interesting to us because we deal with a handful of clients with CMMC and they tend to be smaller businesses. But this one is a news story about Georgia Tech, which is a very large university, Georgia Institute of Technology here in the US. And apparently they do some government work, DOD work, in their labs. And of course, that stuff, when they deal with schools, it's funded by the government, taxpayer money, that sort of thing. So you're supposed to fall under the NIST frameworks when dealing with the DOD. And as part of the NIST frameworks, one of the things that you have to have is antivirus on all your devices, right? All your computers on the network, right? It's just one of those boxes to check, right? As we know, antivirus is not 100% foolproof. I think you need other layers other than that. In the article, they mentioned they didn't use the antivirus, but they used the firewall as put some extra protections in the firewall and whatnot. You can do that, but you can't get away with not putting antivirus on the endpoints, on the computer desktops and things like that if you're working with the government. So basically, somebody blew the whistle on them, and the person in charge of this lab, one of the professors, insisted that it was a non-starter, he said, to have antivirus on the computers, which is strange because I think this guy is probably some sort of security expert. Again, antivirus, people think that's the solution to all these problems, like that's going to prevent things like ransomware or somebody breaching your network. A lot of times it won't, but it's one of those layers that you have to have, and it's part of the requirements for working with the government, the DOD, and the defense industry, and they're trying to tighten up the supply chain. It looks like the government is going to go after these guys, and I don't know, they can leverage a certain number of fines against them. They may stop the grants from being funneled from the DOD to this university. Hopefully not, but that's the sort of stuff that could happen. What's your take on this, Chris?
So it looks like they suspended invoicing on their contracts, which but anyways, for me, so I get what he means. Oh, this guy's a little strange. I get why you would want a lab computer to not be as invasive. But like you were saying, there's layers to it. The endpoints need to be protected, even if it's just built-in Defender. Like we use a lab ourselves for testing, learning. I VLAN it off. So we do network-related security regarding it. It's VLANed off and it can't communicate with nothing. It's an isolated environment. Now,
That's a good point, Chris. I just want to mention that it doesn't obviously say this in the article, but it could be what they're doing. They mentioned extra firewall protections. They could be VLANing off the lab environment, which is helpful. It's something you want to do.
Configuration issue.
But like you said, you got to check the box for the government. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so especially like when it comes to NIST, you need AV detection. And I've had clients be like, hey, on my personal computer, what do you recommend? I have nothing. They had Defender on there. Defender's good for the majority of users, but there are some people, maybe you need malware bytes or some third-party AV to prevent this a little more invasive. Because you can still get viruses with Defender. I've seen it. I've seen people download files and they shouldn't open. It was more of an awareness issue, security awareness issue than Defender not doing its job. If you turn off your Defender firewall and do all of this stuff, bad things are going to happen.
Right.
People following guides doing some stuff that could get them into trouble. That's usually how I see Defender fail, the user issue. But yeah, you're right. The endpoint needs to be protected. Our lab, what do we mess with? Huntress, Defender. Like it can get in your way, but you got to be secure at the end of the day. So I get it's a lab, but just because it's a playground, maybe they need to use something like Chasm. It's on a server somewhere else.
I don't think this was that sort of playground. I think they were doing, their lab was actually things for the government, so it's not DOD. Like our lab where we're just messing around and whatnot. So yeah, this was a different type of lab. This was a DOD testing. So definitely they dropped the ball on that one, and I'm glad they have this whistleblower program too, because here's the thing, until there's more bite in these requirements across the board for all companies, not just the DOD, but things like HIPAA and medical, we see breaches all the time, and it's either misconfigurations or they didn't want to spend the money on the security tools, or they didn't want to hire the people. Until there's bite and actual penalties for this stuff, there's no incentive to do it. We see it in corporate America all the time.
It's just like the PCI compliance. We see, I don't want to answer 200 questions. We'll just pay a fine. Like there needs to be a little more when it comes to some of this. Because right now it's a little too black and white and people are getting away, shared user accounts, things that you really shouldn't be doing. But I don't know, it's crazy out there.
And at the end of the day, the government is trying to protect they're not trying to put these small business people out of business or the schools not get the grants or whatever. At the end of the day, you could potentially put people's lives in jeopardy that are in the military that are trying to protect our country because people don't want to spend the money or they don't want to do their due diligence and do their job. And to me, I like everything that the government is trying to do here with creating more bite to these things because people volunteer to go serve their country and protect us, and like we should be doing everything here on the civilian end to make sure that everything is secure for them, right? And that we're not giving away trade secrets and things like this. If Georgia Institute of Technology is finding new ways to do things, we don't want that to get out to other countries so they can use it against us. So this is needed, and I think there's a lot more out there. They could find a lot more places where there's issues that need to be addressed. All right, we'll end it there, Chris. Hey, thanks a lot.
All right, bye.